Hello everyone, I am Amandua. I am currently a student in FMS Delhi, and this session is basically on how do you write an SOP for FMS Delhi. So the deadline is close, and we are supposed to submit our forms earlier this time. Before it was after the CAT that forms would open, but now the deadline to submit the form is 22nd November, and we are supposed to write an SOP. And earlier, what happened was the SOP for FMS was the last SOP you would write because the form would open so late. You would have written for Lucknow or Kozhikode, ABC, all of that. But now you have to write it quickly. This is would be the first SOP you would be writing. So you need some more advice specifically for FMS daily, and that's perfectly fine. So I've planned a lot of things for you today. We'll start by learning what is the idea behind SOP. And the reason I want to cover this is because for a lot of you, this would be the first SOP you would be writing. And then we will move on to what would your SOP include and what would be the structure. So all the things that you need to include in it. This is would be a very logical discussion. There is not much thing to cram out of here, but you'll logically understand. Then the question that I have been getting the most, I don't have anything in my profile. What do I do? So I'll address that and we'll explain, try to explain how this question is not really relevant, and it stems from the fact that we don't understand the idea behind an SOP. Then we will see how can you review your SOP yourself, because a lot of people try to ask a lot of opinions of different people. Do you think my SOP is good? What would a professor or an interviewer think of my SOP? Uh, how do you review it yourself? And the benefit of reviewing it yourself is in the fact that these are some basic hygiene checks that you take off. After that, you can go and you can ask opinions of people you think can guide you better, and you can incorporate their feedback as well. But these would be the few hygiene checks which would make your SOP better than most of the SOPs that are going into the application. Then can I use ChatGPT or AI? Up to what extent? For what purposes specifically? And if not, why not? And finally, I'll discuss three secrets that I have talked to my friends and they have used across all the SOPs. So this video is applicable for all the SOPs that you would be writing in future as well. But for the time being, I am assuming that you have a 1,000 character word limit. So this is specifically for the SOP. I am not going into the other three questions right now that the form has. Those are fairly simple questions. And if there are any questions regarding to those three part of the form, your extracurricular activities and your achievements, please let me know in the comment section. So starting it, what is the idea behind an SOP? So this is you. These are your objectives and this is your. The point is, MBA cannot be your goal. MBA is only your objective. Your goal is what you want to do in life. MBA is, there are different ways to achieve that. Let's say your goal is to earn money. There are different ways to earn money. Let's say your goal is to help the society. There are different ways to help the society. Let's say your goal is to become a consultant. Different ways to become a consultant. So anything can be your final goal. Usually people break it into short-term goals and long-term goals. So you first you decide your long-term goals. So in the long term, I want to be rich. Maybe, for example, and I'm giving very basic examples. Please don't use them in your recipes. I'm just trying to explain to you what is the difference between a goal and objective. So in long term, maybe I want to become rich. So in short term, I want to do a corporate job so that it can give me some experience so that I can start my own business. Okay. So these are different ways you can define your goals. MBA is an objective which you need to reach your goal, right? So the idea behind SOP is to understand what is your goal and how is MBA an objective in reaching that goal. So you had a goal and you had different ways you could reach it. Why did you choose MBA as a way? That is the entire idea behind SOP. It is a statement of purpose. Now, why is this important? We will see in a minute. But based on this discussion, that if I am asking you that why is it, what is your goal, and why is it that you feel MBA is something that you want to do to achieve that goal? That is what a statement of purpose is asking you. What is your purpose of being here in the interview room? How would you structure that discussion? a very logical way. It's a very logical, inherent thing to say is to introduce yourself before saying that uh, I want to colonize Mars. What I would say is I'm a company that manufactures reusable rockets, right? Basically, I'm defining SpaceX here. Take anything else. If I have any goal, any objective, I'll start by introducing myself because the other person does not know. So your SOP would basically start by your relevant introduction. What does relevant mean here? You have to be relevant in your introduction. Relevant means you have to include things that matter for that introduction. For example, if I was to introduce SpaceX in the same example, here, only the reusable rocket part matters, right? Now, in the introduction, I won't say that I'm also an offshoot of Tesla and that is how I'm funding my money. All of that is separate thing. That's also an introduction, but that is not relevant to my goal. So, in case of an MBA, things that are very relevant are basically your work experience, if you have, and then what have you done in graduation. If you have some specific experience that you feel is central to your YMBA story, include that as well, right? And second thing, now once you have introduced yourself, you basically go on to say what is your goal because you're trying to explain why MBA in that goal. So first you will say what your goal is. Then you come to why MBA and then you come to why MBA from FMS. So this is the structure that you would be following. So relevant introduction, career goals, why MBA, why FMS. Now when you are saying why MBA, remember that your goal and your why MBA goes hand in hand. So if your goal is something else and your why MBA is something else, I need to have uh, a connection in them. So if my goal is, let's say, to become rich, and my why MBA is to help the society, there is absolutely no connection, right? You see the irony here. Another example is if my goal is to maybe do a corporate job. And my why MBA then goes into I want to be a marketing person or a finance person makes no sense. Because if you just want to do a corporate job, why would you not want to be a consultant? Right. So it should have some connection with your career goals and it should have some logical flow in it. It's just 150 words. Without logical flow, it would sound really pathetic. Right. Also, remember, your SOP is the first thing that professor is ever going to read. And if professor reads this SOP and thinks, okay, this is not the person I want to check answer sheet of, you're not going to clear that interview, right? That's just one way to tell you how important your SOP is. Then finally, why FMS? Now, do not say ROI. Please do not say ROI. FMS is very good for a multitude of reasons. You need to find your why FMS yourself. Try to personalize it. If there is a personal story, bring it out. If there is no personal story, which would be true for like 95% of you, that's absolutely fine. A personal story, if there is, it's good. Most of you would not have a personal story. You can simply mention that I want to join FMS because it's one of the best B schools out there. And if you can dig out some fact that you really like, professors would love that. Next, the $1 million question. I do not have anything in my profile. What do I do? Now, let me take you back a couple of slides. What is your goal and how is MBA an objective in reaching that goal? This is what your SOP is about. SOP is not about what have you done and how did you do it. So when you talk about I don't have anything in my profile, really does not matter because your SOP is asking your purpose and your reason to pursue an MBA. So if you have done something, mention it. Why? Because that gives you ground on why would you want to do something further. So I have done something, I want to build upon it, and I feel MBA is going to fill that gap to help me build upon it. Right? If you have not done something, mention why you are a good fit for MBA. Why do you want to do an MBA? And please don't say things like I'm good at communication player or something like a team player. Please don't say any of that. It's a cliche. Many people say it. Professors are tired of listening it. Don't say I'm a creative person. If a professor is kind enough, he will let you be. If the professor is not kind enough, he'll give you a problem that is essentially very difficult and ask you to be creative on the spot. Okay. And believe me, he'll make sure you would not be able to do that. So, don't use cliches basically, right? Be authentic. If you are actually creative, mention it. But then mention it in some other way, because if you are actually creative and you just mention you are creative, professor usually think that you are using filler words. And when I say professors, I mean interviewers, because people who are interviewing you are basically professors in .b schools, and we need to keep that perspective. That perspective is very important even while you're writing your SOPs or while giving interviews. So, point is, not having achievements to write in an SOP is absolutely okay. It's okay if you don't have anything in your profile. It's not the end of the world. If you're a fresher and you don't feel that you have any achievement to show, that is not an SOP is asking for, and you're not in any sort of disadvantage from anybody else due to this reason. But writing a generic SOP is a crime. What do I mean by a generic SOP? I'll explain it in the next slide, but remember this: writing a generic SOP is a crime. So, generic SOP, let me go to step three first. Let me explain that part first. Okay, so generic SOP is an SOP where if I read that, I need to be able to figure out it is you. If I read that and I feel anybody can submit that SOP and pass as a random applicant, then does not work. That SOP should be unique to you. So what you do is you read each and every line in your SOP one by one, and for each and every line, you ask yourself, can everyone use this line in their SOP? If yes, that line does not belong there. You just have 100 to 150 words, make good use of it. You don't need to have sentences that can be used by other people. That was the third step of doing your SOP review. You can jumble those steps as well. There is no hierarchy of order. Then another step is to check your grammar and word limit. If you don't check your word limit, you would not be able to submit it. There is a limit of 1,000 characters. I'm sure you know by now. So check your grammar. Now, checking your grammar is a place where you can use AI. We would come to that again later. Also, ensure that everything you have written is true, because it would come out in an interview. And SOP is not an eliminative thing. So if you don't submit a good SOP, that does not mean you would not get an interview call. They only read your SOP once you have an interview call. So do not lie on anything on your SOP, because once you lie there and you're caught in an interview, there is no way you're getting selected. The last thing is check the structure. We have already discussed structure in the previous slides. You need to make sure that there is a logical structure to your sentences. It can be mixed up. Maybe your YMBA and your introduction is somehow going together because you have something interesting to say in it. But make sure there is a logical sense in what you say. And also, please do not use quotes. Again, you have very less word limit to convey your purpose. 150, 100 to 150 words are essentially nothing. Do not say things that are not said by you. Do not quote people. I know that if you search on Google or in some SOPs of American universities, you will find that does not work in FMS. And also these, as I mentioned earlier, these are just checkpoints. So you need to go and you need to kind of review it with others as well. Whosoever the person is whose opinion you think matters, get it proofread and other things. Can I use ChatGPT or AI? So the idea is, if you use ChatGPT or AI, where is the originality? I am asking your purpose. I'm not asking ChatGPT's purpose. And whenever I tell this to people, I get a very illogical question. What if I tell ChatGPT that this is my purpose and just ask it to restructure, to make it sound better? Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because the thing is, when a professor reads that, what goes into his mind is this person cannot write purpose of statement himself. That means there is a high probability that this person is going to use ChatGPT in all the assignments that I give. And I don't want this person in my class. This is the message that you're sending to professor, that without a ChatGPT, you can't even write 150 words. How would you write answer to those cases that the professors are going to give you in assignments? No professor is going to entertain a chat GPT or an AI version of the SOP. And remember, these are professors. A lot of students submit AI chat GPT content to them. They have a very good eye in looking at whether you have used chat GPT to write that SOP or not. Uh, Please don't use it. Also, there is a need for your SOP to sound like yourself. Let me give you an example. So, if let's say I'm the interviewer and I read your SOP and it says that you have profound love for a triangular pastry filled with spiced onions fried in oil, and I ask you about it, and you say that, oh, I like samosas. You see the irony here. You're using 10 words, 10 incredibly complex words to say that you like samosas. Of course, you would not write that you like samosas in your SOP. But the point is, don't overcomplicate things. Your SOP should match the person you are. When I talk to you, I should feel that, yes, you have written it yourself. You have not told somebody else to write it for you. Then, coming on to the final slide, things, three secrets of writing an SOP. First one I've already discussed. Write the English you can speak. Do not use the words that you can't speak. Do not use words that have a profound love unless you use them in your daily life. There are very few people who do that. But there is a natural English that you use in your conversation. Make sure that your SOP reflects that. And there is no need to be fancy. If you just go with a very vanilla English, that's absolutely fine. Second thing is, your first draft is garbage. So the thing is, whenever you write anything, anything at all in your life, no matter who you are, even if you are Shakespeare, does not matter. The first draft would not be good. This is a rule, and this is rule followed by authors, writers, poets, lyricists, everybody who writes for a living. No matter how big they are, the first draft is always garbage. So never go by your first draft, make the changes. Figure out where you can make the changes. And finally, word limit is a myth. What do I mean by it? You have 150 words to say what you want to say. But you what you want to do is you want to provide the most value in those 150 words. So the thing is, write as many words as you can. Worry about the word limit when you're starting off with your recipe. Write as many words as you can. Explain things as much detailed as you can. I mean, when I was writing an SOP, I think I wrote 4,500 words or 5,500 words. I don't remember exactly, but 45 to 5,500 words I wrote for my SOP, and then I condensed it. So included everything on my life, everything all there, minute details, great explanations, why I feel that this is important, everything that I could think about it, I wrote it. So what you do is you expand your purpose, you write everything out, and then you condense it in 150 words. And that is the way you would be able to write an effective SOP. So that was it from my side. I hope this session was valuable for you and you were able to gather out some insights that would be helpful. I hope to see you, some of you, in my college next year. And of course, remember to fill the form. Don't forget the deadline. It is 22nd of November. There is no guarantee on it being extended. So please make sure that you fill the form on time. Don't wait for the last moment. At the end of the day, it is a government website, and you know how government websites are. So with that, thank you and all the very best.